Hi world, Steffi here with Sacred Earth Essentials and day number 33 of our soil and soul journey this year of 2023. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your time and attention and patience as well as I bring to you this series of videos. So today on Soil and Soul, where we are discussing different qualities of soil, the importance of soil, how to make soil and spread awareness about saving soil, as well as how that relates to the evolution of soul, the evolution of consciousness, and how our existence, both on this physical plane and what we would consider to be a spiritual plane, are in a lot of ways dependent on soil, and that as we lose topsoil in less than 100 years, we will not have topsoil on Earth anymore. So if we would like for life on planet Earth to continue as we know it, if not better, we need to make some serious efforts in how we live our lives collectively and how we care for the earth, ourselves, and each other. So here we have the first series of Soil and Soul. And today in our herbal series, our plant of today is nutmeg. So on the 33rd day of Soil and Soul, I bring to you nutmeg. It is in the Myristiaceae family. Excuse me, I should have brought some water up here with me. And in Latin, it's Myristiaceae fragrans, and also known as Myristiaceae officinalis. A couple other names that nutmeg is interestingly known by, which I had forgotten until today when I was looking it up, is muskrat is one, and another one is muscatnusa, nutmeg. Nutmeg. So nutmeg, this that we know and love and use in many different types of foods and medicines and as spices. Sometimes we sprinkle it on our fancy coffees. Originated in a particular island region of the world. So it is native to the Banda Islands of Indonesia. It's an archipelago, a series of islands, and this is also where the Moluccas are. This is considered the Spice Islands, and this is a famous region of the world where nutmeg and clove originated. Oh my God, right? Oh my goddess, it's just so amazing. It really does have this mystical, deeply earthy quality. It's like both ethereal and deep at the same time. You can get high off of just smelling it, or at least I can. And it's this natural endorphin rush. And this is nature's way of lifting our spirits, lifting our mood, and helping us to be happy. And some people say beer is proof that God wants us to be happy. But I would say like herbs, like nutmeg and little flowers and there's so many things in the world that are proof. I just heard birds tweeting that God wants us to be happy. Birds tweeting. Bird was my first word, by the way. I find that fascinating. So these are the seeds of the fruit of the nutmeg tree, and the outer part is called maca, and it's like mace, I'm sorry. Maca is something totally different, and the outer part, the fruit, I have never tried before. I've only ever known the seed, and actually until I began to study herbalism in 2007, I didn't even know that nutmeg was a seed, and I had never experienced whole nutmeg before, which is a gift in and of itself. The powdered stuff is great when you're baking. If you've noticed a little bit, the flavor goes a long way. Some people don't like nutmeg or think of it as an acquired taste. I personally really enjoy nutmeg. This is not an organic one. This is from the grocery store. You can order some, which I need to do through my affiliate link with Mountain Rose Herbs, as well as Star West Herbals there. This is a Morton and Bassett variety, San Francisco. Oh, it is non-GMO, preservative-free, no MSG, no non-irradiated. And so it's also important, I think, to understand the spirit of nutmeg and to understand its sacredness, and we must understand where it comes from and the people of that region and the history of how nutmeg got to me today, for example. I can't stop smelling it. And so I did bring up my mortar and pestle so I can crush up a little nutmeg to show you here. It's known for its sweet and pungent smell. And what happened was when the Dutch discovered, so nutmeg went from this particular island region, the Banda Island of Indonesia. It then went to China, was brought to China through the spice trade throughout Asia. Some people know about the Silk Road, for example, and this is also where a lot of the riches and spices also traveled through, including things like cannabis seeds. And then throughout Asia to India, and finally to the Mediterranean in about year 500 CE. And from there, after the Crusades, it was then brought to Europe and became widely known in Europe in the 13th century. And so this was part of the spice wars between the Portuguese, the Dutch, and the Spanish, because nutmeg is actually known for being responsible for what was called the golden era of Holland, because the spice was only found in that region of the world. And I think that it's very important to note, especially in line of Sacred Earth Essentials, that this island where the nutmeg trees grew was inhabited by an indigenous group of people. And that when the Dutch East India Company came over, which at one point was known as, and I'm probably going to botch up this pronunciation, so excuse me, Verenigde die Oost-Indische Compagnie, in that language, in Dutch, also had an army, and they went into these islands and committed atrocities and murders and tons of violence against the original people of these islands. And so I think it's important to note that when we look at the wealth and the riches of companies like this and down the line, that we know where the wealth came from. And wealth, the value of something, was, you can't really monetize the value of those lives that were lost and the nature and the culture that were destroyed. And I can't help but think that the island probably doesn't feel so great about what happened in those years. So interestingly, there's still more to the story. Oh my goodness. Yet I love the smell, and it's so interesting to think about, again, the terroir and the specific biosystem, the specific combination of microorganisms and plants and climate and water and everything that went into the soil of those islands where the nutmeg tree grew out of, and how special that is that we have all this diversity in the world of locations, climates, plants. All right, so what happened next? So they lost control of these islands in about the 17th century, and it was actually off limits and illegal to trade, to take nutmeg off the island for a while. And eventually a man by the name of Peter Stuyvesant, he was the governor of New Amsterdam, and he even swapped the Manhattan Island that they had for some of the islands in the Moluccas. You could even get the death penalty if you exported nutmeg at a particular time. It was so sought after. And additionally, it was Pierre Paulvignet, I am horrible at French, the original Peter Piper, who did take some seedlings of clove and nutmeg off of the island and was able to begin to propagate it elsewhere. So now we have nutmeg, which takes about 15 years to grow until you can harvest some, and then you would be able to use it for about 15 to 40 years if I'm correct. And it is picked using bamboo poles. The fruits are harvested using bamboo poles. Many uses for bamboo. And so the main component in nutmeg, some of you might be thinking, I feel like there's something really important and special about nutmeg that I should know that I'm not remembering right now. And that is that it was considered to be one of the original ingredients to ecstasy, the love drug. And so nutmeg is considered an aphrodisiac and does have an ancient reputation of eliciting this response because of its psychoactive properties and narcotic effects. However, you can take too much of it, and so you have to be cautious of that. And because it is psychedelic, it does have psychotropic properties to it at the very high doses. You need to be cautious for that. And so that is the myristicin. It also contains lemicin, and again, just judiciously take it. If you notice, just flavor strength wise, how strong it is when you sprinkle just a tiny bit of it onto coffee, for example, or put a tiny bit of it into a recipe. It is very potent. And so being cautious with it, I think, also is reflected in its strength in taste and aroma. And you will also find that when you crack one open, you can see the volatile oils, the veins of the essential oils inside of the nutmeg seed. I might have to turn this light on here because I can barely see. Trying to get ahead of the game here on these videos. So let's go ahead and crush some of this up. It's really hard. I'm gonna bang on this. Hopefully nothing falls off of the table. I should be in the kitchen. Let's see here. Oops. All right. There we go. Yay! I got it right. I was gonna say, I dare you, go crush up a nutmeg pod if you've never done it before. Experiential learning at its finest, folks. That's what this is, raw and unedited. Oh my God. It is ecstatic. The scent of this smell is just absolutely ecstatic. I'm so excited. Woo! I can feel it. Like, you can literally feel the tingling sensation of the nutmeg as it travels up through your nose and olfactory senses and into your brain. And this is the power of aromatherapy, folks. This is the power of plants. And this is why I love plants. And this is why we have Sacred Earth Essentials, bringing you knowledge about the synergistic and sacred relationship between us and the plant world, the natural world. And so its growing conditions, it needs to be in the tropical region. Originally, it was only on those islands. I would think that's probably where it grows best. So zones 10 to 11. It needs to be in a sunny area, but in its early years needs to be protected from too much sun. We want it to have rich organic soil with low salinity, and it actually needs a dry period in order to flower. And so, again, there are other regions in the world. For example, Grenada is responsible for growing about 20% of the world's nutmeg. It is an expensive spice, right up there with vanilla and saffron, for example. Oh my God, I wish you could smell this through the phone. I would like to learn more about the indigenous use of this. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna put the light on. If you can see that. It goes excellent in chai, kava kava blends, hot chocolate. I love it aromatherapeutically as an essential oil. And again, it's great to acostumbrarse, to get accustomed, get your nose accustomed to these scents in their natural form, and then it will help your nose to be able to detect those subtle differences in terpenes. So it is stimulating, pungent, warm. It invigorates the brain. It calms and strengthens the nervous system. It's considered an aphrodisiac. It's used in the treatment of erectile dysfunction. And remember, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not diagnosing, preventing, or treating anything. It also can help to regulate a woman's monthly system, and it, again, the myristicin was considered the starting point for ecstasy. So why is ecstasy important? Why is that feeling of ecstatic bliss and pleasure important? And so as we go on this journey throughout the rest of the month and focus on herbs and their association, plants as well, foods, with love and vitality and sensuality, we're going to discuss what's the importance of that. And so there's a reason that those things feel good. And I think that there's a way to utilize sensuality and affection in ways that are wholesome and safe and again, healthy and enjoyable, because we want to feel good in this life, most people, and we want to be happy and to be able to spread joy. And yes, procreation is considered by some people to be the only point, but we do know that dolphins also make love for fun, and I don't think that we should judge that pursuit and enjoyment of pleasure for other people. And so you can make your own opinions on that. All I know is that I really love nutmeg, and I love sharing my love of the plants with all of you. So with global warming, if we don't take care of these things, and that includes taking care of soil, because if we don't have soil and we don't have plants, it's going to exacerbate global warming, right? So we're going to lose the places where things like the nutmeg tree came from, and we might lose nutmeg, just like we've lost animals have become extinct over the years. We're losing plants as well. And nutmeg is valued so high, not only because of its rarity and where it comes from, but I'm sure also in the strength of its medicinal properties. And so I wanted to tell you what the terpenes are in nutmeg. And so some of the other powerful benefits that it has medicinally speaking on a physical level are that nutmeg is packed full of antioxidants. It is anti-inflammatory. It boosts libido, antibacterial, and has been known to help with heart health and, again, alleviating depressive symptoms and controlling blood sugar. So a lot of these aphrodisiac herbs are also considered popular for alleviating depressive symptoms and anxiety. And when we know what we know about the body and about ourselves, and you can use astrology, I think astrology, getting an astrology chart reading if you're interested, is an excellent way to get to know more looking outside of yourself, a reflection of what's inside of yourself. So using an astrology chart to look at what it says about your sexuality, your body, your emotions, your needs, relationships, things like that. And so a lot of these aphrodisiac plants are also used to help boost mood. Maybe that's because making love and sharing in intimacy in ways that work best for you are part of holistic health. And that's going to be anywhere on that spectrum. And not everyone likes the same thing. Not everyone believes the same thing. Not everyone needs the same thing. I think that the most important aspect, I'm drawing a circle because of a picture I saw earlier about this, is consent. And then you can figure out the other details within that circle. So for me, someone who loves the concept of great spirit or higher power and who loves Mother Nature, again, what a genius plant. What an absolute genius plant, that it induces a state of ecstatic bliss. And it also helps with all of those other things, with the anti-inflammatory properties. It's being, antibacterial. You could say, biologically speaking, it's just nature trying to preserve itself. But either way, I personally think nutmeg is beautiful, and I think that what I'm trying to say is that the world needs more love. And whatever ways that we can love ourselves more, and not just like eating, bonbons and taking hot baths, but like truly taking good care of ourselves, which does require discipline in love, and truly taking care of the earth to preserve things like sacred islands and other sacred plants throughout the world is also going to take a new discipline. And within that discipline, we get to find, I just love this theme, the freedom that we can get with bliss, whether we're getting that from aromatherapy. I'm gonna have to lick it. Whether we're getting it from plants, whether we're getting that from meditation or yoga or the time that we spend with loved ones, it's important to nourish oneself and fill one's cup with things that feel good to them. And there is such a plethora of options out there that it can be overwhelming, especially as one is trying to find, well, what works best for me. And that is another reason why I love astrology. If you want to study it yourself, you can study with Deborah Silverman, for example. I also have studied with Mariana Abuzara of Green Mountain Intuitive Arts, and also been self-studied. And this has been over the course of the last 12 years. So if you are interested in having an astrology chart reading done with me, please send me an email and let me know. We can get that set up. Because I know that when you look at your astrology chart and have someone who is trained in reading astrology charts read it to you, it can really, if nothing else, give you validation, or as Deborah Silverman says, a permission slip to be yourself, and a way of understanding yourself and your interactions and relationships in the world around you that takes off any heavy layers of guilt or shame. It doesn't mean that you're not responsible or that you don't have free will, but it gives a particular lens, a context for having a deeper, more thorough understanding of oneself. And then based on that chart and your feelings and your interpretation of the chart, you can then use that chart as a part of your self-care plan with me, where we are planning different activities and different action steps to get to goals, or pairing you with different types of herbs that may increase your vitality and your love of life. And for me, nutmeg is one of those spices that does that. Sound like I'm selling nutmeg. But what I would like to do is to just promote this idea of spreading more love in the world, whether that be through nutmeg or through your own work. And one of the lessons that I'm learning is that it's safe to love, that it's safe to be me, and that it's safe to give love, and that if I'm doing this out of a place of genuine love, that protects me, that there are people who, the more you shine your light, the more love you want to give or offer, the more they hate on you for that, or say that it's not genuine, or, depending on how you're delivering it, find other flaws with the way that one may be delivering it. But again, at the root of it all, I'm feeling this. I'm feeling the nutmeg, right? At the root of it all, we all come from this earth. We all come from the sacred dirt, the sacred earth. And even if, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that we are descendant from an alien race and we're not from the earth, right? Let's just say that for whoever wants to argue that point. We've lived on planet Earth with this dirt for however many thousands of years we've been here. And I still think she deserves to be honored and revered and respected and cared for. So my son just got home. Hi, Liam.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Making a video. How are you? I think I asked you that already. Anyways, the point being is that we live on the earth now, and the earth needs us. And I was thinking even, of my mother today and her health, and this theme of not valuing the feminine, and that as most of us, a lot of people, feminize the earth, Mother Earth, and that there is a relationship, and other people have wrote about this, between how we treat women and how we treat the earth. We meaning humanity, even if you're not someone who treats women poorly. So I think as we learn, regardless of gender, to take better care of ourselves and to deepen our relationship with the earth, and to really feel into the truth of the matter, and to recognize the beauty, and to allow ourselves to soften. And that's something that nutmeg, or in, for example, MDMA treatment for trauma, that's how that works. That's how love on that physical level can be healing to the body, because it allows one to relax and allows one to feel good and to feel pleasure and to be in their body and to feel sensations without the trauma present. And so that is part of how the rewiring and the release of the trauma, the body keeps the score. The body remembers even when we don't. And so we need this physical movement, whether it's dance or yoga, or even sex, for example, when it's consensual and healthy and a person is ready for that, to help move the trauma out of the body. And massage is another excellent modality for that. And there are studies that show, that are government approved, that MDMA is an effective treatment for trauma. And there are healthcare providers that will recommend you for treatment for both MDMA, psilocybin, and ketamine, and the appropriate places. And if you're interested, you can also look it up online and sign up to be part of studies, basically, if you're interested. If you've tried all of the other options to treat your depression or your PTSD, my suggestion is to talk to your primary healthcare provider about what they're calling creative alternatives. And so nutmeg, maybe we would not have ecstasy if we did not have nutmeg. I don't really know. But what I do know is that it feels excellent to feel loved, to be love, and to give love. And that the first requirement for giving and receiving love is probably to feel safe enough to do that. Because they say that where there is fear, there is not love. Where there is perfect love, it casts out all fear. So today, day number 33, Nutmeg, Mysticum officinalis. I probably said that wrong. Myristica officinalis, Myristica officinalis, Myristica fragrans musk. And I don't know what the muskrat, I don't know what the native word from the island would be. If someone knows, please type it in below. I was actually quite disappointed with the amount of information I didn't find on the native people of those islands. So I'm going to have to do my research, and hopefully I will get to go visit there one day and I can bring you a live episode in a nutmeg forest from the islands in Indonesia, where they originally come from, in their homeland, their mutterland, their motherland, la tierra de la madre. All right, folks, muchas gracias para mirar yo hoy. Thank you very much for watching today. Go ahead and get you some nutmeg to try. Remember to be cautious with it and always check with your healthcare provider. And don't forget to not only be at peace, but be at bliss and be a blissful, ecstatic blessing to all those around you as often as you can. And don't feel guilty to feel good.